Okay, so this is Bandon.ino. So this is my Midi bandoneon. It has a full set of buttons, more than a full set of buttons on both sides. I've tried to get it as close as possible to a real thing. It's powered by the Bandon.ino. In here has the display, has a sensor for the bellows. Okay, I'm just going to give a sort of little quick playing demonstration. It's plugged into my tablet, which is powering it and also doing the audio. So the audio is going to sound a bit rubbish at the moment because it's just going to be picking up on my phone. But so it's sensitive to bellows pressure. This is on the draw. And play quietly or loudly. And it's quite responsive to the bellows as well, so it will kind of like, you know. So yeah, so there's I think there's a tiny little bit of lag going over Midi and USB to the tablet, but it's okay, at least for now. Okay, so I'm going to show you close up a bit here. Okay, so you can see the buttons. So the buttons are 3D printed. They kind of graduated in size, so they kind of stick out more and more as you go out. I've tried to get the layout as close as possible with the height and the handrest and so on. I've made this leather strap over here. I need to replace the one over here because it's kind of a bit weird. It's too silky. You can see it's connected by USB, goes up to the tablet. Tablet's running Audio Evolution Mobile, which is quite a nice bit of audio processing software. So normally use that for recording, but here it's just in sort of monitoring mode. So it's doing the Midi conversion. So the Midi goes over USB cable. And I managed to find some bandoneon sound fonts. So it's playing there. It's stereo. It sounds great over headphones, especially with a bit of reverb and so on. So I've actually, to try and get the left and right sides sounding differently, I have the left side is running with whatever it's got in here, just take down the high frequencies and so on. So actually the two sides have got different tones. So that's over there. And then on the inside, we can see little teensy underneath all the spaghetti. And we have the load cell on top, so it's 3 kilogram load cell. And it's set up so that it's kind of relatively straightforward to separate it into two. So if I needed to travel, I could probably get it into a suitcase. Yeah, it needs a few little screws, but not too much. And then I've just got going this display on top, which is 128 by 128. So that lets me configure it and so on. So for example, here in the default setup, it's set to show the notes which are playing, which is actually incredibly useful as a learner. So if I press a button, you'll see the buttons come up. Oops. It told me off because it's kind of nearly zero bellows pressure. Okay, and on the right hand side too, as you reach the right hand side there. So the plan is actually to make it so this display will actually give a bass and treble clef, so it'll be quite visually intuitive to look at it and see what notes are playing. At the moment it's you kind of find I have to look for a bit too long to figure out what's going on. So this is also a menu configuration system, so we can toggle between the different pages here. So on the sort of far left is a kind of like screensaver. It just turns the screen off after a second, and then so it takes no power, takes no processing, and so on. There's a kind of debug menu I've got here where I can add in all sorts of stuff. Got the playing menu, which we just saw. This little symbol up here shows the bellows kind of pressure. So 0.2 going out and 0.3 going in. So it goes between -1 and 1. And on here, have a whole bunch of options. So I haven't actually entered the data yet, but it's all ready to go. So at the moment, it's just using the Minori Sorry, cat. Using the Minori keyboard layout, but is going to be, it'll be trivial just to add in the notes for toggling to standard Tango layout and so on. We can go through and I can change any of these things. So the pressure gain, lets me adjust how sensitive the bellows are to the pressure and so on. You can pan the left and right sides. Here, the bellows are using the sensor. So if I click the button, it then lets me change the value. And now, if I press the button, it's going to pretend that I'm just drawing the bellows open full. And I can also do close, which sort of is kind of semi-useful. I kind of imagine that if I was traveling and the bellow sensor broke, it would actually be, I could still play, not very eloquently, but I can still play with that. And then there's settings for the kind of attack curves and so on. So the plan is, so I can just add in more and more settings and so on. And when these menus are running, they don't actually really use any CPU time. You can see it's basically running at 80 frames a second. So with this 80 frames, so I think it's updating the bellows sensor around about 80 times a second when it's just running. And the bellows sensor then adjusts the volume, so you don't actually hear any discretized volume changes. It's quite nice and smooth. I think that's all there is to show in here. It needs to be tidied up a little bit. So now I'm going to try playing, and hopefully I won't mess up. I'm going to try playing something, and when I come to actually make the final version of this video, I'm not going to use the audio from the phone recording. I'm going to switch to the audio which I'm going to be recording on the tablet, and then I'll mix that in afterwards. Because the audio is kind of quite nice, actually coming out through the tablet.